Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarket's podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and RemarkableResults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. Look at who's sitting there to my left or my right. It's Rick White from 180 Biz. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Carm, how you doing?
I'm good, my friend. We got a really cool topic, psychological safety. Let me get that right. This is huge. Thank you so much for bringing this topic to us. I think it's really going to have an impact on, people feel that they can be good and comfortable within their own bones inside their own team and maybe in their own world and their own family. And I'm sure you're doing an awful lot of this with your clients because I think this is it's a huge step, psychological safety. But before we go on, I just want to remind everyone about the Breaks for Breast program that happens every October. breaksforbreast.com, started by two female shop owners out of Cleveland. They found this incredible cause at the Cleveland Clinic, research for triple negative breast cancer. They're in their second trial now. They did the first trial, now they're in their second. $1.8 million raised so far over the last 10 years. There's so much more to go. We need your help. breaksforbreast.com. Please be a participant. Rick, psychological safety. I think of the freedom not to be judged. You know, if I want to say something or do something and I want to feel really comfortable in my bones, and then feeling safe to question maybe your boss about a decision. That's in a sum, that's what psychological safety means to me inside of a business. What say you?
For me, I think it's a little bit different. In years past, there were always little havens, I think, that people could go to and find identity, purpose, and community, right? That safe space. I feel like, and for those of you watching the video, I'm actually doing this from the room I grew up in. I'm visiting my parents in Massachusetts. That's a chalk drawing of my mom, and my dad's a World War II buff. So they've changed a couple of things. When I was here, there were black light.
Black light? Was there a lava lamp in there? Maybe
no lava lamp. I was between lava lamp and the internet. In fact, I may have been conceived by the light of a lava lamp. I don't know. So anyway, I think especially since COVID, I think something's really broken. A lot of people, we're dealing with mental fitness issues that we've never had to deal with before.
Got it.
I think it's because people don't feel safe anywhere now.
Ow.
It's just my observation on it, but I really feel like that part of the situation is, there's problems at home. I mean, you look at if I can say something nasty, the presidential thing, I watched the debate the other day, was a complete shit show on both sides. I have hashtag anybody younger for president. It's one of those things where there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of turmoil. I think people are struggling to find that place where they can have that sense of community, that sense of belonging and safety.
Yeah.
And I think it's super important for us to start to look at that. When Howard Schultz started Starbucks, he said he wanted it to be the third place, right? We have home, we have work, and then there's another place we can go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we almost have to adopt that kind of mindset to get that kind of environment in place so that people do feel safe. Psychological safety is being able to basically be yourself, be able to speak your mind, offer advice, and hold the owners accountable without fear of reprisal, rejection, or ridicule.
I am so taken aback by you saying we don't feel that there is no place safe anymore. And I think, Rick, it depends on your age. I know that Ann and I a lot talk about the state of the world that we're in, where we worry about where our grandchildren are going to grow up in. And I guess you're right. I never thought about it, the safe zone that I remember growing up. I asked someone the other day, I said, so what do you think our biggest problems, where did it all come from? And someone said the internet, because we have so much information coming at us, Gatling gun styles, and opinions, to your point about, being very opinionated about where our world is heading and what we currently have and why we have what we have. And I think you're right about this, Starbucks being the third place. Where do we go just to collect our world? Do we have safe spaces?
And sense of identity, a sense of belonging. I think it's important. I think it goes beyond just like, yeah, don't throw shit in the shop. I think it goes beyond that, or it really does tap into something primal, I think.
I love what you just said. I got to stop and say this. Is the shop safe?
Right.
I'm coming in being surrounded by the chaos of life. I'm not saying it's negative or not, but there's a lot going on in our world today.
Turbulence.
Yeah, a very good word. Are we creating as owners a safe environment? How many do we have to have a tire fly off because we didn't torque it right? You need a safe environment to create safe and reliable vehicles.
Absolutely. You got to have, there's physical safety. When was the last time you did an inspection on your lifts? And, when was the last time you did an OSHA walkthrough?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. You want to make sure that physically it's safe. I got the eye wash stations where they need to be and that kind of thing. And, the fire extinguishers and, we have the MSDS stuff up. I mean, I can remember when that first came out and everybody's freaking out. It's not that big a deal. It's just, you got to do it. But the reality is there's another level to that.
A state of mind safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do we want to do that? I mean, there's so many benefits to it. Imagine having people that really felt like they belonged and were part of something bigger than themselves that happened to be your shop. What would your client get treated like?
Exactly.
Because I think that psychological safety paves the way towards an owner mindset.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I don't expect them to be owners. I don't expect them to think like owners, but I expect them to take their position seriously.
Yeah.
And I expect them to go above and beyond. It's funny. I'm going to do a little rabbit hole if I can for a sec, because it's something I've been talking about over and over again. In fact, I want to do a rant on it. The difference between a standard and a goal, right? A goal is something we push for, we strive for. A standard is a minimum expectation. You'd be amazed at how many shops don't have that clearly defined. Every day, work is a moving target, right? What are you going to be upset about today? What are you going to talk about today? What are you going to be focused on today? Instead of having standards that are clearly defined and creating an environment. See, I believe that psychological safety starts with intention first, and then clarity and communication second and third.
Brilliant. Standards, in my mind, doesn't it start with the culture and the vision and all of that, knowing that this is where we're going and how we're getting there, our why?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I think you back all of that up with good processes and systems, but yet I love the idea that if we don't have our standards right, in fact, if you don't have your standards right, I don't think the state of mind of the business is a safe zone for people to thrive in.
They can't be, because part of it is being a leader.
Yeah.
And the reality is there's a standard in every shop. It's just very rarely set by the shop owner.
Wow. Whoa, there it is. Bingo. Big gold nugget.
The truth is there's always a standard set. The question is, are you setting the standard or are you tolerating someone else's standard?
Yeah, it's the standard of the day. Oh my God, he came in with a chip on his shoulder. He has an attitude. We will have one like that all day.
Yeah, or stay away from him, right? But who sets the standard? For me, psychological safety, you got to have trust and respect, right? That's the first part of it. You got to be open to communicating and really listening to each other. Communicating is not saying something. Communicating is having someone else understand what you said. Because if they don't, what use is it? Right? We're doing some advisor training now, and we just talked about communication and communicating effectively. And I have these little videos that I've pulled from the TV and internet and stuff like that on these different listening styles. And it's a hoot to watch the advisors as they're watching the videos.
Oh, I see me there. That's me. That's exactly what I do.
I was like, which one of these made you uncomfortable?
Exactly right.
That would be your style, right? Yeah. But the other part of this is diversity. I was at STX, 2 STXs ago down in Orlando, and I was doing a class on trust and creating a high trust environment. And the guy said, oh, I have a high trust environment. I said, how do you know? He says, oh, my guys think I'm doing a great job. And I said, respectfully, can I just push back a little bit on this? He goes, sure. So that's not high trust. That's ass kissing. You have a high trust environment when your team will hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's high trust. The standards don't apply just to the team. Standards apply to the owner as well.
Great point.
And you really should have 4 standards. You need a standard for quality, kind of work, no matter who does it, goes out the same way. You need a standard for client experience. How does it feel doing business with us? So that no matter who they work with on the front counter, it feels the same way. Those are client-facing standards. Then we have two other standards that are team-facing, and that is a standard for performance and a standard of behavior. You need those four standards in your shop.
And if you got them, the weather or the climate in the business
Changes.
is sunny.
Because imagine this, if I had something I could draw on, I have my goal up here. This is where we're going. That's the end zone. Back here on the bottom, I got my minimum levels, right? This is what I got to get above and beyond. On this side, I have my standards. And on this side, I have my values and my beliefs. And what I've done is I've created a playing field where I'm giving people authority and agency to do their job without being micromanaged, as long as they are respecting the boundaries.
Yeah. The bookends.
The bookends.
Yeah.
This creates safety.
Yeah, it does. My God, you're so right. When you feel like you're in the zone, because that's what you just described to me, I'm in the zone and I'm comfortable. There's my safety spot. Because I know what we do. I know what I can do. I know what the owner can do. It's psychological safety is having the boundaries, having the standards, living up to them, correcting, and allowing input to be there because we want people to help improve.
Absolutely. And to push back. Sometimes it's push back. Nobody's going to know how to do a technician's job better than the technician doing it every day. I don't care. I was a tech 30 years ago. I understand. In fact, it was great. I was sitting in on some technical classes. We were recently in Brazil doing some teaching down there.
Yeah, congrats to that. That's cool.
That was awesome. We already got invited back.
How did the interpreter thing work out?
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. It was just off the hook cool. And we got invited back for next year. It was so cool to sit in the technical classes because they had Brandon Steckler was there. Eric Walker was there. Scott Schotten was there. Wally Meridian was there. I'm listening to these classes and I understood all of it. And I'm like, yes, I still got it, right? But I don't do it every day. What I know from 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it doesn't apply today. It gives me a frame of reference, but I want to listen and respect them, what they have to say more. And have them being able to come to the table and go, I don't think that's going to work. Okay, tell me why. Like, listen, ask questions. And they may see something you don't. Now, they could be afraid. That's okay, too. We can talk through that fear, okay? But you got to be able to have that. I want every shop in the country, the world, to create an environment that energizes, encourages, challenges, and embraces our team. We don't take the time to do that. We're too busy fixing today's problems, putting out today's fires, getting this month's bills paid. And if everybody, and I know there's some people that listen into these and you're more, tech or advisor than you are owner. And you're listening to me and say, yeah, that's all fairyland. It can't be done. I'm telling you, getting yourself so that you can spend half an hour a day as an owner in the beginning, just half an hour, and start to work on this. In 6 months, you'll be spending half a day as an owner.
I've been doing this for 9.5 years, a couple thousand episodes between all the brands and the Aftermarket Radio Network. And we hear a lot about, thank you, because I listened to Rick or I listened to Matt or I listened to all these people that have been on the show. And I started with the idea of this. This is how I started, Rick. And I'm just laying right into your lap. I called a guy, Dave Striegel, that I met one time he was writing for Motor Age and he's building a training center in his place. And I said, would you come on and talk about your pathway to your remarkable results? I was just brainstorming with a guy. I told him what a podcast was. He goes, I'd love to tell my story. And for him, it was a story of evolution, of him going from, that'll never work, they're crazy, they're stupid, to, oh my God, being on top of the world, being a top producer.
Dave Striegel's a good guy.
Yeah. You know Dave?
I know Dave.
Cool. He was episode number 1 for me. It was just
shop in Pennsylvania.
Elizabeth, PA. And it's one of those memories that people have, these indelible, ingrained memories. Me and Dave Striegel doing our first episode. And I was nervous as all get out. I hate listening to it because I wasn't good. But I didn't know.
We still aren't, right? How many have you and I done together? I mean, there must be 30 or 35 of them
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
night, right?
yeah. We have. Thank you so much for wanting to be on.
And
But I think your point is so perfectly said, and it lays up into my analysis of wanting to advance the aftermarket. But you have to be willing, and you have to be a willing participant.
you got to suck before you get to great. It's just a fact,
The rule of
right?
holes. The rule of holes, Rick. You
You're
need to know
just
when
going
to
to
stop.
suck,
You need to know when to stop digging.
right? That's right. When you're in a hole, digging faster doesn't get you out. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
You know, it was funny. I had a brand new client. She just bought a shop and they got no cars. And she goes, we don't know what to do. And I said, well, what have you done to get the word out about your shop? And she went, and I went, and so why are you surprised that there's nobody at the shop? So now we start giving them some ideas on some things they can do that are no cost, low cost things to do that'll start to generate some buzz. And it's a process, right? And I'm really excited for them because it's a husband and wife team, and she is an absolute force of nature. You talk to her one time, it is done. I am excited to
That's
see
a
where
good
they're
client.
going. That's a good client. But it really comes down to this whole thing of being clear about where we're at and where we want to go and get people excited and want to be a part of it. The why, the values, all of it add up. And it gets you to a point where people are not, how do I want to say this? It is such a cool feeling when you have to stop pushing your team and they're either walking along beside you or they're in front pulling you.
Yeah.
That's where this all comes from, right? Is that clarity and that don't get overly, like I got to save the world thing. But man, you can make a difference in your community. You can do something better. And all of that creates and moves you towards that psychological safety. The clearer you are, the more consistent you are as an owner, your clarity and consistency of your message and your demeanor, right? Because one of the things that we have as a barrier, right, is they don't know who's coming into work today.
Which personality?
Is it Jekyll or is it Hyde?
Yeah.
That does not create psychological safety. Here's another one. Seeing a mistake as a mistake and something bad versus a teachable moment. You yell at a tech for breaking something, I guarantee you two things happen. Number one, that tech will not tell you the next time they break something. They will use 3 tubes of blue glue, seeing if it'll hold 15 pounds of coolant pressure. And the other thing is they're going to stop learning and pushing themselves because it's unsafe.
Yeah.
It's unsafe. This is part of creating that psychological safety, which is where I love Jocko Willink in his book, Extreme Ownership.
Sure.
Somebody makes a mistake. His response always is great. What are we going to do? What are we going to learn? What are we going to do better?
To your point, if the owner wanted to immediately make this change, he would get up in front of his people and he would say, you all have the freedom to make mistakes and never be judged as long as we learn from it.
And please understand, there's a difference between a mistake and a trend.
Yes.
If I have somebody do it once and they never do it again, that was a mistake. I'll give you a quick story. I had an advisor back in the day, hired him. He was in the job for about 6 weeks and I got pneumonia. So I ended up in the hospital and out of work for 7 days. I come back and we had a Chevy Celebrity we had done head gaskets on. I sold the head gasket job on. Yes, I'm dating myself. Get over it. So if you don't know what a celebrity looks like, Google it. So he gives me the bill. He gives me the invoice. He goes, call this guy. He won't pick it up. He's pissing me off. And I was like, okay, hold on. I look at the bill. It's $2,800. And I said, Dave, he authorized 13 plus the overheat. What happened? He says, we just fixed the car. Phil found other stuff. We did it. The car's done. It runs great. Did you ever call him? Nope. So I sat down with the tech, said, okay, what was the overheat? Figured out what that was. Called the guy up, and he's a used car lot owner. Okay. So that makes it a little bit more tenacious.
Mm-hmm.
Called the guy up and I said, listen, I'm really sorry. Dave's new. A lot of stuff got done on the car. I quoted you $1,300 plus the overheat. It was the coolant fan motor that's caused the overheat. Add $200 to it. Come down with $1,500 cash. The car's yours. Guy, I'd never seen somebody move so fast. Like literally cartoon, hung up the phone and he was walking in the shop. Paid us the $1,500 in cash. Picked up the car, very happy. Then I sat down with Dave and I said, Dave, what happened? And Dave thought about it for a minute, and he says, you know something? I spent the guy's money without talking to him. I said, that's right. I said, people don't mind getting their car fixed. What they don't like is someone else spending the money without giving them, they got to stay in control. I said, so what's the lesson? He goes, I will never do that again. I will make sure that if anything happens, we're going to revise the estimate. We're going to give him a call. I said, great. Okay, we're done. And Dave said to me, you're going to fire me? I said, Dave, if this is the only time you ever make this mistake, it was the best $1,300 I ever spent. And he was with me for 5 years and he never made that mistake again. We got to learn from the mistakes. We got to give them the room because mistakes are a byproduct of learning. We can't expect people to learn and then get mad at them when they make a mistake.
Yeah, you screw with them so bad, they end up having a bad week, maybe a bad month, because they can't overcome the pressure, the embarrassment. What are people thinking of me? I'm going to get fired in 3 days. I know that Rick's he's going to place ads. Think of that whole psychological nightmare that the individual is going through. It's hurting your business.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. What if I'm upset at a vendor? They said they were going to warranty a part. They didn't warranty it. It was never Capriato's. It was somebody else. But if I'm walking into the shop and I have a demeanor like I'm upset, if I don't talk to my team, by 10 in the morning, we're going out of business. Right? Because in the absence of clarity, fear takes over. And you end up and what happens is people personalize it. I come in a bad mood and immediately they're like, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? And it puts them on edge. That's not psychologically safe. So you say to your guys in the morning, listen, guys, I'm a little bit off today. I got this part. They're supposed to credit us back for it. I'm getting a hassle with it. I've got to deal with them this morning. I'm really sorry. I just want you to know what's going on so you don't worry about it. The reality is we're going to screw up. And we're going to screw up because we're human. There are going to be times when we do react. The first thing we've got to do is hold ourselves to the same standard that we put out there for everybody else. We are not above the law. We created the law. We are not above the law.
Right. That's a great point.
Right. So if I screw up, I want one of my people to come to me and say, Rick, you're outside the rules of, we had a document called the Rules of Engagement.
I love it.
It had a list of values that we were going to treat everybody with. If one of my guys or my gals stepped out of line, we would just say, listen, you're outside the rules of engagement. Go take a walk around the building, go cool off or do whatever you got to do. And then we can talk about it. I can't do that. Go get lunch then. Go do something, but cool off. I want my people to say the same thing to me. Rick, you're outside the rules of engagement. I hate you right now, but you're absolutely right. Okay. So the first thing we got to do is hold ourselves to the same standard. And then the second thing, and I'm going to say it the wrong way, Carmen, I'm sorry, but I just say this all the time. We got to own our shit.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, guys. And it's a public apology, guys. I screwed up and I'm really sorry.
Take responsibility.
Just own it. Right. Yeah. Own it. Don't. Yeah. Is it embarrassing? Yes. I hate eating crow. What did I say this morning? There's no amount of salt that makes crow taste good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It just doesn't. So step back, have that conversation and humble it. Be humble. Right. That's one of the qualities you want, I think. Right. I want my team to be humble, hungry, and smart. So
no doom and gloom. No doom and gloom attitude. Hey, it's no secret. We're facing a technician shortage, and NAPA Auto Care has a solution with the NAPA Auto Care Apprentice Program. The program was pioneered by one of our own. Pete McNeil and Master Technician Jeg Sorensen from McNeil's Auto Care in Sandy, Utah, realized that the problem of not having technicians available for hire was not going to solve itself and decided to take action and look at a different audience of individuals available for hire. A focus was put on younger individuals with the right passion, desire, and attitude to work in the automotive repair industry. Jake and Pete sought after these individuals and developed a technician apprentice program to give them the training needed to become a successful technician in today's world. The NAPA Auto Care Apprentice Program includes a comprehensive 9-stage curriculum that includes a variety of types of training, and they are classroom training videos exclusive to the apprentice program. Now, these videos provide in-depth training from a successful master technician. Also, Autotech classes with instructor-led courses offered through NAPA Autotech and Autotech e-learning. This web-based e-learning is designed to target specific training topics. And finally, hands-on learning. The apprentice will apply the skills gained from the classroom training videos, Autotech instructor-led training, and Autotech e-learnings in the shop with the guidance of a mentor. The apprentice program curriculum is competency-based, meaning an apprentice can move through each stage at a pace that best suits them. Most apprentices complete the program within 2 years. Upon completion, apprentices will have earned ASE G1, A4, A5, and AC certifications, adding industry validation to the skills an apprentice acquires. Look, having an apprentice in your shop will ultimately benefit your bottom line as they advance through the program. And in most cases, as the apprentice develops their skill set producing billable hours, you'll begin to see a growth in your gross profit by stage 5. One of the largest barriers to entry for individuals looking to enter the automotive repair industry is the cost of tools. Now, keep your apprentice motivated with an apprentice toolkit. Now, NAPA Auto Care has worked with our supplying partners to offer an exclusive comprehensive tool set, including a 4-drawer tool cart for all registered apprentices. Hey, to learn more, members can visit member.napaautocare.com. Rick, I'm a very positive looking person, always accepted responsibility. If I changed the word, made a mistake to the word goofed, and I don't know where it ever came from, but somebody says, yeah, I goofed. It didn't sound so terminal when I said, yeah, I goofed, but seriously, it was a mistake, but I goofed. Can you make a can you make a person who's a really pessimist with a bad attitude, who's hating life every day, get them to flip? Because if they don't flip, neither will the business ever find the right path.
I think if you have the right culture in place, the right environment, I don't think those people are attracted to it.
Yeah, there you go. But the owner still drives that. That's my point is.
Well, the issue is if the environment really matters to me and psychological safety matters to me, I'm going to be very careful about who I let in because everybody has an impact on it.
I pick up the phone and I call Rick White at 180 Biz and I go, I really think I loved your episode, Psychological Safety. I may be the problem here. Can you help me? Can people can people be coached into that?
Yes, if they're aware and they want to change, they can change. Because I just did just one thing on Monday morning, and I said there's 3 identities in business. You're a complainer, a critic, or a creator, right? You're either complaining, you're criticizing, or you're creating.
Yeah.
And I called them identities, but then I said they're really not identities, they're rooms we live in. And sometimes without realizing it, we end up in a room we really don't want to be in. That's the kind of guy I can help, or gal. When I say guys, it's non-gender.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, yes, I can help them. Now, if I got somebody coming in and I hired Mr. Right now instead of Mr. Right, you know what I'm talking about. I put a mirror under his nose and he fogged it. I hired him.
Yeah, that's right.
Now that's a different situation. But I really think if the culture and the environment is strong enough, that person won't stay because we won't tolerate it. But if I got my ducks in a row, I'm going to know the values. I'm going to know the attitudes. I'm going to know the behaviors we need. I'm going to share that with people and make sure that it resonates with them.
In all the coaching that you've done, the heaviest lift has got to be the individuals, the owner who's coming to you for help. In all these other areas, Rick, I'm not making any money, and you start with him or her first. Do you find these are the heaviest lifts in an entire coaching relationship? Is to change the person?
I think the heaviest lift, there's 2. Typically, when I'm talking to somebody like that, it's doom and gloom. They're spending all their time staring at the problem instead of where they want to go. And when I stare at a problem, it gets bigger.
Sure.
So the first thing I've got to do is give them hope. Because as John Maxwell once brilliantly said, when there's hope in the future, there's power in the present. So the first thing I've got to do is give them hope. And then the second thing I've got to help them do is create a new identity.
I love that. Can you dive into that a bit?
Yeah. Typically when I'm starting with a shop owner like that, they consider themselves to be failures. I'm going to say this again the wrong way. I apologize. I'm a steaming pile of dog shit.
Sure. Get it.
Right. That's very descriptive. And a lot of people feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The reality is it's not true, but we can't see it because, it's funny. Carm, have you ever had a situation where someone gave you a compliment and you had a hard time letting it in?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why. And you know me, I like keeping things simple. It's because when I look at you, Carm, I see everything you do for the industry. I see all these things that you're doing, these different associations and getting involved and helping to spread the word. I see your heart. I see what you're doing. And I love you for it. Right. But when you look out your eyes, all you see is what's broken.
That's such an interesting analogy. Yeah. I'm Mr. Fix-It, huh?
I got to fix. No, well, not even that. You're looking at it like I still do this. I don't talk enough. I talk too much. I don't ask enough questions.
Oh,
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you're
yeah.
seeing all your brokenness. It's hard for you because when I give you a compliment, you're thinking, dude, if you really knew who I was on the inside, you wouldn't be saying that stuff.
How I struggle every day to get up for everything that I do. Right. I know exactly right.
So the issue is, Zig Ziglar said it best. We all want to have this. And we feel like if I do this, I can have this. But the reality is it starts with identity. I've got to be it first and then do what that person does to have what that person gets.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stop. I love rabbit hole confidence builders.
Yes.
Think that through for a moment. Something just happened to me recently. I've never shared this with anyone, but I gave the keynote at the ASE Board of Governors just a few weeks ago, and I spoke on the rise of the mechanical and technology specialist. And I really reached out to ASE and says, listen, I need your help. It's a heavy lift to change this language in our industry. And Dave Johnson, their newest president, said, Carm, I just love this. What can we do? I said, let me speak to your board of governors. And I did. And Tracy was with me. And when we were riding back to the airport in the Uber, she said to me, I wasn't paying 100% attention because she was also part of the thing. She had to get me things that I needed to show in the speech.
Yeah.
And she goes, but Dad, I don't recall hearing one or from you. And so she was helping me in this whole confidence building about, it's not like it's my first speech ever, but it was since I joined Toastmasters. And this is such an incredibly important thing that I know I shouldn't do if I wanted to be clear and confident and all the things that a great speech would be about. And I felt really good. And it was almost like, oh, there's a moment there in my mind is where do you gain the confidence that you as a leader looking to make this shift from doom and gloom, who is the person that tells this person, God, you're on a good path. These things are going good. Who tells that person?
Yeah. So I have what I call the 6 C's. First thing we got to do is make a choice. We got to decide we're going to do something. The second C is commit. We got to commit to it. Once we've committed to it, we got to have the courage to follow it through. And courage got 2 ingredients. It's fear and action. Okay. What happens a lot of times is people are waiting for confidence to do something they've never done before. And it doesn't work that way. Like life isn't built that way. So you got to make the choice. You got to commit to it. You got to have courage. Okay. And then you have confidence, not in your capacity to do that new thing. You have confidence in your capabilities. So what I do is I remind myself of different times when I couldn't do something. Like at one point, I couldn't walk. You couldn't either. Guess what? We walk most of the time reasonably well. There was a time I couldn't drive a car. I drove from Virginia to Massachusetts on Sunday, and there are parts of the drive I don't remember. So I just remind myself, there was a time, like my first oil change, I was covered in oil. Okay. I was 13 years old, did my first oil change, and I was covered in oil. My dad and 2 other guys stood there and watched. Okay.
As they should have.
And they did. I was spit nickels. Oh man. I went to my dad and said, why did you let me do that? He goes, you ever going to do it again? I went, no. And he said, then you learned. So you got to have confidence in your capability. Then comes the action, right? You do it. And then comes competence. Competence comes from doing it over and over again, realizing you're going to suck when you first start doing it and then get better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then get better and then get better and look to see the improvements and debrief all the time. What did I do great? What could I have done better? What am I going to do better? What resources do I need? Those are 4 questions I ask myself all the time. Okay. Once I'm competent, then I have confidence. And one of the things that's super, super dangerous in today's environment, Carm, is we get stuck in the learning loop. I got to learn a little bit more before I'm going to do it. I got to learn a little bit more.
Yes.
And the problem is learning gives us a false sense of progress, right? I feel like I'm making progress, but nothing is changing. It's not until education is fantastic, but applied education.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I can learn something, but then in the act of doing it is where the real lessons are.
Yeah.
And we can tie this right back to psychological safety again, because we've got to create that environment that just envelops all of those C's and then helps them in an environment where they can feel safe doing it. What is encouraging? Encouragement is simply belief verbalized. It's my belief in you verbalized. That's encouragement, right? And that's what we need. We don't do that. Our brains are hardwired to catch people doing things wrong. We got to fix that.
Let's go back to what you said in the beginning about Schultz in Starbucks. I want it to be the third place. If I could sit down with myself, I'm a shop owner, and say, what makes Starbucks a really cool place to go? Instead of it being the third place, why don't we make work the second place, but the Starbucks to be at? Wouldn't it be interesting to think about it? It's calming, it's kind of designed. There's some things that make you feel different at Starbucks. Why couldn't we take that to work? That's my point.
I think we can do it better.
Okay.
I think there are shops out there where there are people that miss not being at work.
Yes.
Whether it's the camaraderie, and it's going to be an orchestration of all of it, but it's the camaraderie of the team. It's the challenge and the feeling of satisfaction and making a difference and just seeing something bigger. Because today, especially, I've got kids, they work their butts off. I get you want to see me get on a tirade quickly? Just tell me millennials are lazy. I will stand up and I will take that sword. I have 7 kids and every one of them works their butts off.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm also the guy, my grandson comes up from playing soccer. He's about 8 or 9. I said, hey, buddy, how'd the game go? He goes, good. I said, how'd you do? Did you win? She goes, oh, coach told us it was a tie. I said, coach lied. It was 11-2. You got your ass kicked. Right. It's.
Wait a minute. Don't get me started on the trophy kids here.
Okay. All right. I got you.
Please, don't get me started. All right.
Yeah. We don't do participation trophies.
Oh, man.
Right. And I understand where it was coming from. Maybe we were too competitive at one point. But the reality is today's people that are coming into the workforce, a lot of them are not prepared for setbacks. They don't know how to psychologically handle not doing something well or not succeeding at the level they think they should be. They're not prepared for it. And today's owners, we're doing more parenting, like I think parenting lessons than we've ever had to do because they didn't learn it at home. And you can shake your fist at it and say, well, I'm not doing it. Or you can just suck it up and say, well, that's the way it is. I'm going to push a little even further than that. Carm, if I were to ask you could you name 3 to 5 people that had a huge impact on your life? And if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Absolutely. I could.
So couldn't I. I mean, if someone told me in year 2000, 2001, 2002, that this is what I would be doing, I would still be laughing. Never in a million years did I think I would be coaching.
I love what you just said, because people have come up to me and says, did you ever think that at that stage in your life when you thought of this podcasting thing, that you'd be out and speaking everywhere and doing all these things? And I says, I didn't have a clue. I had no idea, but I threw everything I had, 120% of Carm, into this thing. And it continued to blossom. Was it easy? No. Did I have to learn a ton of things? Yes. Was I uncomfortable? It was like everything is so worthwhile when you put your heart and your soul and everything you have into it.
Absolutely. I think from the first of this year, I think I'm in the high 40s, low 50s as far as presentations so far this year.
Yeah, you've been busy.
I've been busy and it's not done yet, man. I'm telling you what. And it's funny because I heard something a while back and it really has stuck with me. A goal is a dream until it's achieved, and then it's a responsibility.
That's exactly describes what I had and what I'm doing. You too.
Yeah. And based on our conversation yesterday, it sounds like we're both going about the same speed. It's one of those things where we've got to be able to, as owners, create this space where it is encouraging, it is engaging, it is challenging, it is embracing, so that people can really look forward to being at work. I know some shops that have people where work is a better, happier place for them than home. I'm not sure that's a good thing, but it's a real thing.
But that's the kind of environment you have to create.
and they got to learn to do that. And hopefully maybe they take some of the lessons from being an owner,
Bingo.
right?
Take them
And
home.
bring it home.
Yeah, take it home, because there's so many challenges going on at homes today. And I don't necessarily know what they all are, but I read, to your point earlier, like you say, we're in a shit show and we're not quite 100% sure who, what, when, where, how, and why. You just don't, but it's whirling.
At times, if you stare at it, it can be overwhelming, right? But you've got to decide, again, are you creating or are you reacting? And you know what I love about that? If you write those two words down, they're the same letters. All you do is move the C.
Yeah.
Are you creating or are you reacting? And let me explain. I don't decide the outcome. That's not for me. That's a byproduct of what I do, how I show up, what I do, the consistency, the effort, the intention of just doing it over and over and over and over again. And you just don't give up ever, right? I'm a business coach. There are some things we say, give up. Don't do that. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that. But there's other times where I want to use my goal as a ruler, but I'm going to measure my effectiveness at my effort and my intentions, right? And then say, okay, I didn't hit my goal. Well, you suck. No, man, I'm better at this. I just got to get betterer, right? I just got to get betterer.
I love that word, betterer.
How are we doing that with our teams? What are we doing to challenge our teams?
Oh, God, yes.
What are we doing to create that safe space? And that doesn't mean listening to someone whine and cry all the time, right? It means being able to have somebody come up to me and say, I have a problem at home. Can I just talk to you about it a little bit?
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean you got to fix it. It just means listen. Guys, we have a hard time doing that.
And that creates a safe zone for people to want to come. That's huge. To your point, since there's so much going on at home and there's so much stress in our world, they don't want to go from one stressful zone to another. Not that I want people to realize, and I know you're making this point, we're not a roll over and play dead kind of company. I mean, we're serious. We've got our end zone. But you still need to create a safe zone on an individual basis as a leader and an owner or a manager of a business to be able to help your people through their day by maybe just listening to them.
Absolutely. Anybody that knows that rollover isn't in my vocabulary.
Oh my God. All right. Hey, you know what? Every time we get together, we're almost 50 minutes in, and I don't know where the time went.
I know, it's nuts. I'd like to just kind of touch on some things that maybe hinder psychological safety.
Sure.
And sometimes it's power dynamics in the shop.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes it's a lack of communication. It's intimidation. It's a lack of trust and transparency, right? It's a lack of clarity. There's so many different things, but they're all fixable. One of the best ways to start it up, Carm, is to go into the shop and say, guys, you know something? Right now, we've got a job. This is not what I want for us. There's a lot of pressure in here. There's some toxicity. This is not the environment I want for our team. What would you like to see? And start a dialogue. Get your team involved. And at first, they're going to think you're on drugs. They're going to think it's the next, you listen to another podcast and we're doing something different. But it's one of those things where it's really important. Get them involved.
Don't send Rick to a conference. Don't let him listen to another podcast, because when he's done, we're going to have to change. Oh my God, it's going to be the new flavor of the day.
No. Rick went to a lot of conferences back then. We didn't have the internet when Rick started.
Right.
Internet was really new. We had dial-up. Okay. My guys would call the Monday after a conference Black Monday. Because Rick changed everything.
Yeah. Oh my God, Carm went to a conference. We're going to have to change
everything. Yep. Let's go.
I know exactly right. And it took me a little while to realize that it shouldn't be my way. It should be our way. And unfortunately, I would come back, hold a meeting, come up with this. Here's what I learned. Here's what we're going to do as a portion and part of that thing. And yes, sir, I'll have another. It was one of those yes, sir, drill sergeants. The moments I realized I didn't really appreciate the leadership level that I do today. Yeah.
Yeah, dictation does not work well.
That's
Dictation does not work well. And what I tell people all the time is it's not a democracy either, because they don't have the same perspective. I have a technician, they see the business this way. I have an advisor, they see it this way. I'm the owner, I see it here.
mm-hmm.
Right? What I tell my clients all the time is your team gets a voice, they don't get a vote. And I think that's a fairly healthy way to describe it.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
I want to hear your opinions, but here's the thing. I'm going to give you one of three answers. Yes, we're going to do it, and this is what has to happen next. 2 is not yet. Here's what's got to change in order to make that happen. And the 3rd is no because.
Yeah.
And if you do that, they're going to feel seen. They're going to feel heard. They're going to feel appreciated, which are, according to Brene Brown, the ingredients to connection. This is exactly what we want. They don't expect you to roll over and do everything they recommend.
Yeah.
Just hear them and then give them the respect of a response.
The no because I think is a really important piece of that 3-step process, because if you just say no to people, they're going to walk away frustrated and with an attitude. But if you can explain to them why this wasn't a decision that you are willing to carry forward, it's not like I don't appreciate you and care about you and it wasn't a brilliant idea, but now you know why it can't be done. It doesn't mean it can't be done today. It could be done tomorrow or the next time we get together. But now I know what no means.
Yes. And no is a complete sentence.
Yeah. I never heard that. That's great. That's great. I love that.
Yeah. No is a complete sentence.
All right, Rick, what else?
I think that's it. I think there's a lot of good people you can tap into. There's a lot of, you can go through the podcast here. There's lots of conversations about these, around the edges of what we've talked about today. And
always.
They can help you get a good coach if you don't have one. There's lots of them out there.
I've always told people, Rick, I'm always very neutral in the industry about, recommending any coaches. And people say, hey, Carm, I need a coach. What do you recommend? And I say, I'm going to send you a link to all these coaches that have been on the show. Please go listen to them. Now, if you don't know how to get to their website, or I haven't said it enough in the episode, or I'll give you a connection to their website. But no, I'm not going to recommend anyone because I love them all.
I mean, there's some bad apples everywhere, right? But I think for the most part, I've been doing this now for 21 years. There's a lot of good coaches out there, and we have different perspectives and different insights and experiences. And I love a lot of these guys. I love a lot of them. And I've had meals and lots of fun.
There's not enough coaches to the number of shops that need coaching. That's the thing. If everyone decided one day that, hey, it's time I'm going to get a coach, they would be up for grabs. I will say that. And
my prices would go up.
Immediately. Like eggs, like bacon.
Yeah. Demand goes up, so don't the prices. That's just the way it is.
Honest to God. Well, this was great. Thank you so much. We talked about psychological safety, and we went through a couple of rabbit holes. It was fun.
Yeah.
But overall, boy, I just loved what we talked about. Thank you so much. Rick White, 180biz.com. Come back.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to answer. And can I give a plug for the roundtable?
Yeah, do that.
Shop Owners Roundtable is absolutely free. Second Thursday of every month, 7 p.m. Eastern. For 1 hour. We typically have between 50 and 65 shops in there. It's a lot of fun. We just talk shop. There's no sales. There's no expectation. It's our way of helping the industry and giving back. Would love to have you in there. Go to our website. My website's on the bottom of my name here, or it's 180biz.com. Right at the top, it says sign up for the next roundtable.
Cool.
And we would love to have you in there. Absolutely love it.
More of Rick White on that great event. It's monthly, right?
Every month, second Thursday.
Second Thursday. Thanks, bud.
You're welcome.